Hey everybody, hope this finds you doing well. This is Danelle here at Networkchain, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Bitcoin over the past week, as well as the overall cryptocurrency market. There were a couple of macroeconomic events over the past week that was also very important when it came to the price action. So let's go ahead and look at the cryptocurrency market update. You can see Bitcoin is currently trading down about 2% from a week ago. It's at 113,416. It actually got up to around 117,000 a couple days ago. We'll go over that in a second as to why. Ethereum currently trading at $4,757. It's up 9%, so it's actually still going on a nice run over the last couple of weeks. We'll continue to see if it will get a chance to get to that $5,000 level. It did actually break all-time highs over the past week, so that actually was very, very exciting for a lot of the Ethereum holders who have seen ETH be outperformed by Bitcoin for a long time now. So now you see that Ethereum actually had a great week outperforming Bitcoin by over 10% over the past 7 days. Ethereum is up nearly 1% at around $3. And then you see Solana is up nearly 15%, actually trading at above 210 for the first time in a while. Then we see Dogecoin, the largest meme coin of them all, currently trading at 23 cents, Tron at number 9, and then you have Cardano rounding out the top 10, basically flat over the past week, currently trading at 92 cents. So if we look at the Bitcoin chart, we can see here that Bitcoin is definitely testing this support level, which is around that line at $111,000, and we're seeing that it's bounced off this line a few times. Now we're looking now at the daily chart and just doing a little bit of very basic technical analysis. We can see that many chartists are looking to see if BTC can hold at this support level, and if it does, usually once it shows that it can hold at that support level after a few bounces, then eventually it can potentially take the next leg up. You can see the last time this happened earlier in the year, Bitcoin was bouncing basically between 110 and 100 for several months, and you see that it bounced off this about $100,000 level a couple times. It dipped below for a moment, but as soon as you see that wick down, it came right back up above that support level of around 100,000 or so. So you saw it bounce a few times on the daily chart on this support, and then finally eventually it went and blasted past this level of resistance, which was around that 109, 110, 111 area. So just a little bit of basic technical analysis. So just looking forward, you can see this happens many times in the past as well. Earlier in the year, in that February to, let's say, April time frame, right after the tariff news that brought down most markets, we saw that it did take that next leg up, and then we were kind of bouncing around in a range for several months, and then we took that next leg up. So we are bouncing around here for the last several months. So could there be a potential that we finally break out? We've hit all-time highs a couple times over the last month or two, and now we're going to see if we'll get a chance to get and break above that $124,000 level. So one of the reasons why we had this nice green candle on Friday, August 22nd, as you can see, Bitcoin had a low of around 111,000, and it went all the way up to 117,000. So it had a nice multi-thousand candle upside, and a lot of it had to do with the speech from Jerome Powell, who is the Federal Reserve Chair in the United States. And they are the ones that handle the monetary policy. So they're the ones, as we've talked about in the past, that make decisions when it comes to whether or not interest rates should be hiked or cut. Right now, we are seeing that they've held at the current rate for a while now. It's currently at around, I believe it's around 4.5 to 4.75% is the federal funds rate. And the reason why this is important is because it has to do with the ability for people like me and you, for institutions, for companies who are looking to borrow money to be able to use towards various capital expenditures or to be able to help grow their company. or to be able to own different types of things and different assets, people need that rate to, or prefer that rate to be obviously as low as possible, because you're borrowing that money at a lower rate. Your interest isn't as high when you're buying a home, when you're buying a car, as opposed to when those rates are a lot higher. So after the pandemic, when the rates were cut to basically near zero, they had to then pivot and do one of the fastest and quickest rate hikes that they've ever seen in US history. So now we're seeing that slowly it's starting to come down, but they have held at this level, at that 4.5 to 4.75% level for a while now. And so now people are hoping from many different facets of business and life that they end up cutting the rates a little bit more. Now, one of the reasons why you also cut rates is because that allows companies, and it oftentimes can stimulate the economy when it comes to jobs. So their so-called dual mandate is one, they want to make sure that they fight inflation. They don't want costs to get out of hand where people are unable to pay for various goods and services, particularly the necessities, because we are all seeing that prices for pretty much everything have gone up. So they definitely look at that. That's one of the key metrics that they pay attention to when it comes to what they're trying to balance when they, decide on this monetary policy. And then also they look at the labor market, and when businesses are doing well, when businesses are making money, obviously they then have more money and opportunities to try to expand their business, and part of that includes hiring as well. So when we're seeing people working and more people working out in the job force, there's more money that's flowing into the economy. So it all creates, a cycle where, if there's more jobs, there's more money to be spent on, these different various products and services, and those companies continue to do well and will then put more money out to create better products and to invest in their company to build and grow faster and bigger over time. And also with lower interest rates, they're able to, as I mentioned earlier, use that money to, spend on various things as well, and not have to pay such a higher interest rate in paying those funds back. So in his speech, the speech was this past Friday, he basically intimated, we're not for sure, we won't know until next month whether they actually do cut the interest rates, if there's going to be one or two cuts. But one of the sentences or phrases that was said in the speech, as you can see highlighted here, our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago, and the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance. That's the very key important part there. Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance. So that indicates that there's a possibility that there could be a change, and that they may actually do a shift, and it would be towards cutting as opposed to staying where it is or hiking. So obviously time will tell, but it definitely can be an indicator of more to come when it comes to people being willing to invest into risk on assets, including cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Because if the interest rates are lower, that means that you're not getting as much money sitting in a savings account, you're not getting as much money in a money market account, so people are more likely to move into more riskier, so-called riskier assets, to try to get a better return than just leaving your money in a fixed income or a savings account or low interest rate bearing accounts. Ethereum also continues, as we mentioned, to do very well. They did reach their all-time high after nearly 4 years, was the last time that it was broken in 2021. So Bitcoin reached over $4,800, and it's getting close to that $5,000 mark. As you can see here, the previous record was 4,878, so it broke past that. And so Ethereum has been having a moment, particularly because we're now seeing the growth of the digital asset treasuries that are now stashing Ethereum and putting as much Ethereum on their balance sheet as possible. And the top two currently is Bitmine and SharpLink Gaming. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But Ethereum's not Bitcoin, but we do know and respect and appreciate some of the other cryptocurrencies that are out there. but you have to be very careful. There's a ton of cryptocurrencies that are out there that are basically scams. So we have to make sure that we are doing our due diligence if you do decide to get involved and invest in cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So definitely keep an eye out for what's going on overall when it comes to some of these cryptocurrencies. Just one other last news story that we'll get into here. You see that Brazil, they're actually considering a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So the United States, they have a so-called Bitcoin strategic reserve, and a lot of that was basically acquired through forfeitures and seizures. So we are yet to see whether or not the U.S. will actually have a policy when it comes to accumulating more Bitcoin. But now we're seeing that other countries, and there already are other countries like El Salvador, which made Bitcoin legal tender and also actually took measures to buy and accumulate Bitcoin, and that has been a very worthwhile investment for the country. And we see countries like Bhutan, a very small country that has accumulated a lot of Bitcoin from mining. So a lot of sovereign nations, as we've mentioned in past videos, are also being orange pilled and see the value in Bitcoin as new money, as a store of value, as digital gold. So obviously we'll continue to let you know as we hear more about countries that are interested and will potentially adopt a Bitcoin strategy. But it's definitely great news to see that other countries are looking outside of other currencies and looking at Bitcoin as a potential store of value. So of course we appreciate you checking us out here, and we look forward to linking up with you soon on the network chain. In the meantime, take care.